In Power Query, creating new columns isn't just about adding data, it's about adding intelligence. In this module, you learn how to write custom formulas using M code, apply powerful if-then-else logic, build UI-driven conditional columns, and generate index columns to support ranking, joins, and more. This is where your data becomes dynamic, insightful, and ready for analysis. So if you're interested, keep watching. So before we begin, as I've been doing in previous modules, I'm going to show you a new method of importing your data inside Power BI. We're going to import the data from SQL Server, but I'm going to use something which is called as a direct mode query. Now, before I get into that, let me just quickly show you the data. So in my SQL Server, this is the table that we have, which is e-sales data. This data contains few electronic items and their sales with some details about customers and the region where that sale happened. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to Power BI. So I've opened up a blank Power BI window here. I'm going to go to this get data, and within this I'm going to select SQL Server. Now you must have observed this earlier as well. It will ask you for the server name obviously, but then in the data connectivity mode, by default it's selecting import. But now we're using the second option, which is called direct query. Now, before I get into direct query, I would like to quickly explain three different modes that we have in Power BI while importing a data in. The first one is obviously the import mode. Now, what this does is it creates a copy of your source data into the Power BI ecosystem. So which means the data is copied into Power BI and stored in data model. The advantage of this is the query runs faster because the data is local, and performance-wise is obviously a superior option for us. And from a Power Query and DAX perspective, every available feature is supported with this mode. Now the next one is something called as a live connection. You won't explicitly see that option here, but if you remember in the last module, we used a live connection between this Power BI and the cloud Power BI dataset. So if I cancel this out and go to get data and click on this Power BI semantic model, it will show you the dataset which is available on the cloud. You can select any one of them. But the problem with this is you can't use Power Query with this method, because when we select that, the transform data option does not work for you. The transformation needs to happen before we actually import it inside a Power BI for visualization. So that is the limitation of a live connection. But obviously, because it's based on cloud, the benefit is that multiple users can access the same dataset without creating redundant or duplicate dataset in each local version. Now, the third option is direct query mode. So I'm going to go back to get data and click on SQL Server. And this is the option that we're going to use today. Now, what is this? In this method, Power BI doesn't store the data locally. It runs a query directly on the source system. In this case, it will run a query on SQL Server. Now, data is always up to date, but the performance depends on the source system. So if your SQL Server is slow, then this will also be so. And also in this case, some of the Power Query and DAX features are limited. I'll paste a link in the description so that you can go ahead and read about the limitations that you have when you're using direct query. For now, what we're going to do is I'm going to click on this server, copy paste my server name from SQL Server. So I've shown you how to do that. Go to your SQL Server instance, click on the server name here, properties, and then you can copy it from here. Obviously, remember your server name will be different from mine. So I'm going to copy paste this. Database, this is optional, but I'm going to just enter the database name. My database name is called BI. So BI here. Then the option is obviously the data connectivity mode, which is direct query. Now there are a few advanced options. We're going to get into this now. Both with import and direct query mode, you get an option to write a SQL statement so that you can fetch records from your backend database based on your requirements. You don't have to pull in everything at once, okay? So this option is available for both import and direct query mode. So let's say I write a SQL statement here. So I'm going to say where quantity column. So I have a quantity column in that table, this one. I want all the rows where the quantity is greater than 1, okay? So I'm going to say quantity greater than 1 and press OK. Now what it will do is it will use this SQL statement to fetch only those records from the database which fulfills that where clause that I've written. So in this case, it has given me only those row items where the quantity was greater than 1. Now I'm going to click on this transform data here so that we can start with the Power Query transformation techniques which we are going to cover in this module. So let's go. Alright, so now we are in the Power Query window. The first thing that we're going to learn is how to create custom columns using manual formula entry. Now what do I mean by that? So for example, let's say you want to create or you want to add a new column onto this data to identify total sales value after you have applied the discount. So which means the total sales will be quantity column multiplied by unit price, and then we're going to subtract the discounted value from that final price. So all you have to do is go to this add column tab here and click on custom column. Let's name this as total sales, and then just click on this custom column formula section here, and then first add the quantity column. So just double click on this quantity column from this section, add a multiplication sign, and then add the unit price by double clicking. Now obviously we have to minus the discounted amount from this final price. In order to do that, if you notice, this discount amount is in decimal values, but in essence this is actually a percentage. So this 0.15 is nothing but 15%, this 0.05 is nothing but 5%, and so on and so forth. So which means we would have to subtract this value from 100% to get our final sales value, and then we'll multiply that percentage value with this calculation. So I'm going to add a multiplication sign again. Due to BODMAS rules, I'm going to enter my next formula inside a bracket. So I'm going to say 1 minus the discount column. So double click there, close the bracket, and your formula is completed. Press OK. It will give you a new column here which says total sales. But the moment you apply this, you'll get a warning message at the top. It says this step results in a query that is not supported in direct query mode, which means what we're trying to do here is not supported in direct query mode. And this is exactly what I wanted to show you when we use direct query. So in direct query, there are certain limitations which you would face while using Power Query. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our main window without saving this. And I'm going to click on discard changes. Instead, this time we'll use an import query mode. So I'm going to paste my server name here. The database name is BI. And then in this data connectivity mode, I'm going to choose import so that all the data gets imported inside Power BI. And in the advanced option, I can write my SQL query again. And click on OK here. This will show you the preview again. Click on transform data. And now let's create that column once more. So add column, custom column, total sales, quantity multiplied by unit price, and then that amount multiplied by 1 minus discount amount. So which means if the discount was 15%, 1 minus 15%, which is 100 minus 15%, would be 85%, and that 85% will be multiplied with this calculation to give you the final total sales value after discount. So I'm going to click on OK, and as you see, now there is no error at the top. The column has also been created. Now once you've created the column, feel free to change the data type as well. So I'm going to choose this decimal number here. Now this was a simple calculation. What if you want to add a little bit of complexity in your calculation? Like for example, if, then, and else conditions. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to insert a new column again. Let's name this as sales category. What we're trying to do here is the new column that we created, which is total sales. We are going to use that column and we're going to check if total sales is greater than 3000, then high, else if total sales is greater than 1500, then medium, else low. So how do we write that condition? It's as simple as writing English. So if total sales is greater than 3000, then give me high, else if total sales is greater than 1500, then give me medium, else give me low, and that's it, and press OK. So if you see now, this new column has been created. Now let's look at another example where we will see how to work with dates. Let's use these sales date and delivery date to identify the number of days between the sales and the delivery. So to do that, again, go to add column, custom column. I'm going to name this delivery time days. Now in the formula section, we're going to use an inbuilt days function, which is there in Power Query. It's called duration.days. Open the bracket and let's say delivery date minus the sales date. Press OK. And now it's going to show us the number of days which took between sales and the final delivery. Now let's quickly look at a text manipulation technique in this. So let's say you want to identify, along with this customer name, you want to see what's the location of the customer. So we're going to use this customer name column and we're going to use this region column to create a new column which will have both. So custom column and customer location, and in the formula bar I'm going to use the customer name ampersand sign. Now we use ampersand sign to concatenate two different strings or two different columns. I'm going to use something like this. So I need the customer name and within brackets I need the region. So I'll enter a bracket inside the double quotes so that it knows that this is a text string, and again an ampersand sign. This time I'm going to use the region column, again an ampersand sign, double quotes, and within that I'm going to close the brackets and press OK. Now if you see, it has created that column with the name of the customer and the region that customer comes from. Alright, so now you've already seen how to create a column using manual formula entries. Let's see how to create a conditional column using UI-driven features within Power Query. So in the add column section again, there's a button which will say conditional columns. Click on that and this will provide you with a UI interface to apply your condition instead of writing them down. So let's say you want to create a bucket or a flag which will tell you which region is in priority and which region is in not priority. So let's say column name would be region priority, and in the condition I'm going to say if column. So now the if is already applied here. Now column name you can choose from the drop down. So in the drop down you will find all these columns. So I'm going to say if region is equal to, but there are other operators as well, but we need equals to only. So I'm going to keep it that way. But in case you want something else, you have does not equal, begin with, and many more. Now for this, we'll just use equals. The value would be west and the output would be priority. Add one more clause here. So click on this button. Now automatically it has added an else if block here. Now within this again, select region equals east, then standard. Now finally in the else block, which is at the bottom here, I'm going to write normal. Press OK. Now it has created that new column. Now whenever you create these columns and you want to edit any particular filter or any particular clause that you've added, you can always go back by clicking on this gear icon here. This will show that prompt once again and you can change it whatever you want. I'm going to show you this same conditional column and apply a condition using a number column. Let's use this discount column here. So I'm going to click on conditional column. I'm going to add a discount flag. Okay. So discount flag. If column name, which is discount, is greater than. So now because this is a number column, it is giving me slightly different options in the operators. Instead of having does not contain or contains, it contains equal to, does not equal to, greater than, less than. So now we need a greater than sign. So I'm going to choose this operator and I'm going to say if greater than 0, then give me yes, else give me no. And I'm going to press OK here. It has added that new flag with appropriate tagging. So which means when you're using conditional columns, there is no formula needed. Power Query UI handles all of it. But only caveat being the custom column is much more flexible and you can incorporate many more functions which are already inbuilt into Power Query to make it more powerful. Okay, so the next section is indexing columns. Now before we get into indexing columns, I want to quickly explain why do we need indexes. Although there are many benefits of having an index in your table, but the main advantages are you can create a unique identifier for each row if it does not already have it. If you want to rank your records, then it is very easy if you have an index. And then obviously, if you want to reorder your data, sorting, filtering, or merging, indexing ensures you can always restore the original row order whenever you want. So now let's quickly understand how you can add an index to your table. So in the add column section again, there is this button which says index column, and there is a drop down as well. If you click on the drop down, it says from 0, from 1, and then custom. So you have all three options. You can say that your row 1 is actually starting from 0, or it can start from 1, or you can also give it a custom index as well, starting from a specified value with a specified increment level. So let's check how it's done. I'm going to click on the 0 here. And if you see the first row, it has created as 0 and then started with all the numbers. Let's check for 1. It has created another index, and this time it has started from 1. Now let's enter a custom one. So I'm going to click on this index column again, click on custom, and I'm going to say the starting index is 10 and I want an increment of 5. Okay, so it will start your value from 10 and then it will add 5 onto each row. So let's press OK, and if you see, it has now created the same thing, 10, 15, 20, 25, and so on. But remember, keep only one index column in your table, otherwise it will unnecessarily slow down your table. So with that, I'm gonna wrap up this session for today. In the next video, we'll deep dive into advanced transformations like grouping, merging, and appending queries. So make sure to practice with the sample file linked below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you do not miss any content that I upload. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.